In this session, we will discuss about getting identity values. That means we are all know about identity property of a particular column. That means it will generate it will generate serial number, okay, auto increment values. Automatically it will increment one by one value. One by one value means that depends upon your given number. Suppose if you want to increment by 2, like 1 3 5, like that, so you can give identity of 1 comma 2, like that. Okay, so how to get that identity value? Like, for example, create table, and like table 1, serial number, ename. So here integer identity of 1 comma 1, and ename is varchar of 50. So same thing. Okay, so here I'm going to insert one record into table 1. Like, we no need to insert value into serial number. Why? Because it is having identity property. Okay, automatically it will generate serial number. So I am mentioning name, employee name, and value just like A. Here one record has been inserted, so I want to get the serial number of this table 1, recently inserted value. What will be the identity property value of this particular employee name A? Okay, so in this case, these methods, these functions will be used. Okay, scope identity, identity current, @identity. Okay, these are all similar functions which will be used for returning values from identity property column. Okay, so but a small difference between these three methods. Okay, so like identity, first of all we will discuss scope identity. Okay, so here I am writing like scope identity, see 1. Okay, if I insert B, okay, if you take this 2. Okay, so if you want, you can check from table. Okay, and one more value here, @identity, @identity, see 2 2. Okay, and one more value, identity current of table 1. Okay, if you execute this, same value, all these functions are giving same value. Okay, so if you insert one more value here, table 1, see I am executing simultaneously these two queries. After inserting C value into table 1, I want to get the identity property value. Okay, see say 3. Okay, 3 is returning, but what is the difference between, what are the differences among these functions? Okay, so see here, scope identity and identity return last identity values that are generated in any table in the current session. Okay, so any table in the current session. For example, here I am inserting table 2, and here I am inserting A. Okay, I am going to execute here all these queries simultaneously. See, scope identity return 1, which belongs to table 2, and identity property that returns 1, which belongs to table 2 only. But identity current, this function returns 4. Why? Because here we have clearly mentioned that table 1. Okay, if you give here table 2, then what will be the recent value of identity property column that will return from the table 2? If you write table 3, what will be the recent value of identity property from table 3? It will return. Okay, so this makes the difference among these remaining functions. Okay, identity current, we have to pass table name. Okay, then what will be the difference between these two functions? Okay, so here scope identity returns values inserted only within the current scope. Okay, and double at the rate identity is not limited to a specific scope. Okay, so what is mean by scope means, that means either it is a procedure or trigger, any kind of thing, any database object like. Okay, so session means, see here, this is one query window, that is nothing but session. Okay, see, if you execute this here, see what will happen. First two functions returns nulls. Why? Because in this session, in this query window, I am not inserting any records. That's why these scope identity and double at the rate identity functions returns null value, but identity current function returns 4. Why? Because here it has table name as a parameter. Okay, so now I will discuss one example which differentiates scope identity and at the rate identity. Okay, so now I'm going to write one trigger, create trigger tr underscore table 1. Okay, on table 1 for insert. Okay, whenever one record is being inserted into table 1, I want to insert into table 1 parallelly. Okay, so already we have that insert query. So how do we insert? By using like virtual tables, that is called inserted, and special tables, whatever it was, some people call it as magic tables. Okay, execute it, and for our convenience, I am going to truncate tables 1, 2. Okay, and 2, 3. We're having empty tables. Now, first of all, I'm going to insert one record. First record I'm going to insert into table 1. Okay, so here two rows are affected. One row belongs to table 1, another row belongs to table 2. Why? Because whenever we are trying to insert one record into table 1 as per trigger, so it will fire, and whatever the record has been inserted into table 1, that will be inserted into table 2 again. Okay, so now we will execute this functions. See 1 1. Okay, and again I am going to insert one record into table 2. Okay, I am giving B in table 2. Here table 2 does not have any triggers. Okay, now see what will happen, 2 only. Okay, so here in table 1 we are having one record, in table 2 we are having 2 records. Okay, so remember this, and I'm going to take one more query window so that you can have clarity. So here in table 1 we have one record, in table 2 we have 2 records, so that if you execute these two functions, what will be the values? 2 and 2. Okay, 2 and 2. And if you run this query, observe this, what will be the output of these functions? So what will the purpose of this insert query means? It will insert one record into the table 1. As per the trigger, same record will be inserted into table 2. Okay. Scope identity returns 2. That means it belongs to current scope. Okay, here we have used query. Okay, so from this query, what will be the identity value? That identity value it will return. Okay, identity at the rate double at the rate identity function. So it will check across any scope. That means whenever one record has been inserted into the table 1, one trigger will be fired. In the trigger, what will happen? Table 2 has one record. Okay, one record will be inserted into table 2. Okay, so after inserting the record into table 2, what will be the identity property value? That value will be returned by this at the rate identity function. So that's why here see this definition. Scope identity returns values inserted only within the current scope, only within this current scope. In this scope, query is insert query. At the rate identity is not limited to a specific scope. Okay, it will check across any kind of scope here. Okay, so table 1, once the record has been inserted into table 1, one trigger will be fired. So in that which table that record will be inserted into which table? So table 2. Okay, so from this identity value will be returned. Okay, so suppose if I insert one more record like see. I'm writing one more trigger. Okay, on table 3. If I create this trigger, what will happen? One record. If I insert one record into table 3, then one more same record will be inserted into table 1. Okay, already table 1 has one trigger. Okay, the trigger, in the trigger one record will be inserted into table 2. For our convenience, I am going to truncate all the tables. See. Two. A. B, 3. First. Two records are there, so we will check here 1 1 A. Okay, if you execute this 1 1 will return. Okay, if I insert one record into table 2, then what will happen? See 2 2. Okay, if I insert one more one record in table 3, see 3 records. Okay, 3 records means one record will be table 3, one record will be table 1, one record will be in table 2. Okay, see this 1 3. Okay, so you can check here 1 3. Okay, so scope identity means here I have executed this query. Okay, scope identity property that will return table 3 identity property value. Okay, at the rate identity, it will check any trigger is there in table 3. Okay, one trigger is there. Okay, so one record will be inserted into table 1. If we insert one record into table 1, then what will happen? According to table 1 trigger, one record will be inserted into table 2. Okay, so again it will go to the table 2. Okay, so from the table 2, it will fetch identity property value. That's why here this at the rate identity will return 3. Okay, so if you want, you can check it. 3. Okay, scope identity means at table 3. Okay, so this is about identity property value. How to get that identity property value? Based upon requirement, you can get the value. So this identity current means if you specify that any table name, it will return recent inserted value into the identity property value. Okay.